It can't be.
Is it him?
Why is light given to those who suffer and life to the bitter in soul? In the land of Uz lived a man unlike any other, Job. Upright, honest, and God-fearing, he was blessed with wealth, children, and respect. But high above, in the heavenly council, a challenge was set in motion. Was Job faithful only because of the prosperity he enjoyed? Then a trial began that shook his life.
Sir, I come with terrible, urgent, and grave news. Please, sir, listen.
Losses?
Come. Move!
Illness, loneliness, and unanswered questions? What seemed like destruction became the stage for the purest faith, where pain met hope and man met his Creator. In the vast land of Uz lived a man unlike any other. Job, his name echoed as a symbol of righteousness, for he was blameless, upright, God-fearing, and set apart. The blessing of the Most High rested upon him in abundance. 7 sons and 3 daughters filled his house with joy, and his possessions were countless. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and a large number of servants who tended his fields and livestock. His flocks covered the valleys, his camels traveled the trade routes, his oxen plowed the fertile fields, and his servants bustled with diligence. There was no man greater than Job in all the East, but his greatness lay not only in his wealth, but in his faith. When his children gathered to hold feasts,
Abundance does not smile.
Indeed. Let us raise our glasses to the prosperity of our family.
Job would offer burnt offerings for each of them, thinking, perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. He was the priest of his household, an intercessor for his own, a living example of reverence and faithfulness. While on earth everything seemed prosperous, in heaven a mystery was unfolding. The sons of God presented themselves before the throne, and among them came Satan as well, the accuser. The Most High asked, "Where do you come from?" The adversary replied coldly,
From roaming through the earth and walking back and forth on it.
Jehovah looked at him with authority and said,
Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one like him on earth, blameless and upright.
Satan replied with scorn,
Does Job fear God for nothing? Haven't you protected him, his household, and everything he owns?
You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased greatly. But stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and you will see if he does not curse you to your face. Then Jehovah said,
Behold, everything he owns is in your hands. Only do not lay a hand on him himself.
And Satan went out to strike. The trials did not take long to arrive. Job was at home when a messenger came in, exhausted and wide-eyed.
I come with terrible news.
The oxen were plowing and the donkeys were grazing nearby. Suddenly the Sabaeans fell upon them, took them, and killed the servants with the sword.
I alone escaped to bring you the news.
Job's heart had barely absorbed the words when a second messenger burst in, his clothes singed. Fire from God fell from the sky, consumed the sheep and the shepherds. Everything was reduced to ashes. I alone escaped to bring you the news. While he was speaking, a third messenger arrived, staggering in with wounds on his body. The Chaldeans, divided into 3 bands, attacked the camels. They took them away and killed the servants with the sword. Each word was a blow, but the worst was yet to come. A fourth messenger came in shouting, his face pale and his voice trembling. Your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine at their eldest brother's house. Then a strong wind from the desert struck the 4 corners of the house, and the house collapsed on the young people.
They all died.
Job's pain was indescribable. In a single day he lost his wealth, his servants, and his beloved children. The greatest man in the East was reduced to dust and tears. Then he arose, tore his robe, shaved his head, and fell to the ground in worship. With a broken voice but a steadfast spirit, he spoke words that have echoed through the ages.
Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord.
Thus ended the first round. Satan had struck with all his fury, but Job did not sin or accuse God of any wrongdoing. Heaven opened once again in solemn assembly. The sons of God presented themselves before the Lord, and among them once again came Satan. The Most High asked, with the same voice that upholds the worlds, "Where do you come from?" The accuser replied with apparent indifference, "From roaming the earth and walking about on it." The Lord looked at him and said firmly, "Have you considered my servant Job? He still maintains his integrity, even though you incited me against him to ruin him without cause. Skin for skin. Everything a man has he will give for his life. Stretch out your hand and touch his bone and his flesh, and you will see if he does not curse you to your face." The Lord replied, "Very well, he is in your hands, but spare his life." And the enemy went out in fury. Job, who had already lost his wealth and his children, was now struck in his own body. From the soles of his feet to the crown of his head, a malignant sore covered him completely. His skin cracked, his flesh became inflamed, and pain consumed him without rest. Unable to find relief, he sat on a heap of ashes. Taking a piece of pottery with which he scratched his sores. The most respected man in the East became a spectacle of misery, looked upon with pity and contempt. Job's wife, broken by pain and blinded by despair, approached him and said bitterly, "Do you still hold on to your integrity? Curse God and die." It was as if Satan's voice spoke through her lips. Job, weak in body but strong in spirit, looked at her with sadness and replied, "You speak as any foolish woman would speak. Shall we accept good from God and not accept evil?" In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. Then his three friends arrived, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. When they saw Job from a distance, they did not recognize him.
It can't be him. Are you sure, Eliphaz? He is barely recognizable. Look at his condition. The desolation.
They raised their voices and wept, tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads as a sign of mourning. They sat with him on the ground for 7 days and 7 nights, and none of them spoke a word to him, for they saw that his suffering was very great. The silence was more eloquent than 1,000 speeches. There was the righteous man, surrounded by friends unable to comfort him, immersed in a pain that pierced both body and soul. The scene was a cry to the heavens, an invisible plea that echoed with an eternal question. Why does the righteous suffer? The 7 days of silence were broken when Job opened his mouth.
Let the day perish on which I was born, and the night when it was said, "A man is conceived."
He did not curse God, but rather cursed the day he was born. His pain led him to ask, why is light given to those who suffer, and life to those who are bitter of soul? It was not an attack against the Creator, but the cry of a man stripped of everything, searching for meaning amid the ruins. Job firmly defended himself against the idea that his suffering was a punishment. "Weigh me on honest scales,
Then God will know my integrity,"
he cried out. His friends accused him of hidden sin, but he refused to accept that lie. He did not understand God's silence, but neither did he abandon him. On the contrary, he asked for an audience with the Most High, if only I knew where to find him, so I could present my case before him. In the midst of his complaint, one of the most powerful declarations in all of Scripture emerged.
I know that my Redeemer lives. And in the end, he will stand upon the earth.
And after my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God. That cry of hope broke through the darkness. Even though he had no answers, Job was certain that there was a Redeemer, someone who would defend his cause and vindicate him in the end. He also remembered his past life, how he had been eyes to the blind and feet to the lame.
We're almost there, my friend. Lean on me.
Father to the poor, defender of the needy. He made a covenant with his eyes not to walk in lust. He did not bow to gold, nor did he rejoice in his enemy's misfortune. He was not a perfect man, but he was upright. His moral inventory was his answer to the false accusations. He knew that misfortune was not the result of wickedness. Job's cry teaches us that sincere lament is not unbelief. It is possible to weep, to question, and to cry out without ceasing to believe. His story shows us that it is possible to be honest before God, that faith is not about denying pain, but about holding on in the midst of it. Today, when we face loss, misunderstandings, and God's silence, we can learn from Job. Pain does not always mean guilt. Sometimes it is a test, sometimes a mystery, but even in the darkest night one can declare, "I know that my Redeemer lives." The first to speak after Job's lament was Eliphaz the Temanite, the elder. His voice carried the authority of age and the confidence of experience. He spoke calmly, but his words were like poisoned arrows to Job's wounded heart.
Remember, who being innocent has ever perished? Those who sow wickedness reap pain.
I myself have seen the fool take root, but his ruin came quickly. Eliphaz built his argument on the logic of retribution. If you suffer, you must have done something. He also spoke of a night vision in which he heard that no man is righteous before God, nor are the angels entirely pure. His conclusion was clear.
Job must accept that there is hidden sin within him.
On the surface, his words sounded wise, even pious, but they lacked the most important thing: tenderness and compassion. Instead of healing, he tore apart. Instead of lifting up, he crushed. Job didn't need a judge, he needed a friend. What Eliphaz forgot is that truths spoken without love become knives. Yes, it's true that no one can boast of absolute purity before God. Yes, it's true that evil often brings pain. But in this case, his words were unjust, because Job was suffering not because of guilt, but because of a trial permitted by heaven. This mistake of Eliphaz is repeated today. How many times does someone who is suffering hear phrases like, "You must have done something," or "God is punishing you for your sins"? Advice that instead of bringing people closer to God, makes him seem like an executioner. Experience can provide words, but if there is no tenderness, those words kill. The lesson is clear. Never use the truth to hurt. To accompany someone who is suffering requires more tears than arguments. Job needed shared silence, sincere prayer, and shoulders to support him. Eliphaz gave him formulas when what was needed was compassion. Today we must learn not to repeat that mistake. Wisdom without love is cruelty disguised as advice. True faith knows when to be silent and when to speak, and when it speaks, it does so to heal. After Eliphaz, Bildad the Shuhite spoke up. His voice was neither calm nor thoughtful, but as hard as iron.
God does not pervert justice. If your children died, it was because they sinned. If you are blameless, he will not reject you.
He will even fill your mouth with laughter and your lips with joy. With that statement, Bildad not only touched Job's wounds, but opened them even further. What for him was a defense of divine justice, for Job was like a dagger straight to the heart. He accused the dead and condemned the one who mourned without stopping to weep with him. Then Zophar of Naamath appeared. He was the harshest of them all. His speech was relentless.
God is giving you less than you deserve. If you set your heart right and reach out your hands to him, Then your life will shine like the noonday sun.
If Bildad had been cruel by blaming the children, Zophar was merciless in claiming that Job's suffering was only a fraction of what he deserved. There was no compassion in his voice, only moralistic coldness. Both friends represented a legalistic view of God, a judge who hands out immediate punishment for every mistake, a God reduced to a mechanical scale. And although it is true that God's justice is perfect, human life is more complex. Bildad and Zophar failed to see that Job's pain was not judgment but mystery. What they did is what many still do today, turning faith into a courtroom and religion into condemnation. Instead of accompanying, they judged. Instead of lifting up, they pushed the fallen down even further. And in doing so, they showed that theology without mercy becomes oppression. The lesson is clear. Never use God as a weapon against those who suffer. Pain is not always the consequence of sin. Sometimes it is a test, sometimes it is a mystery. Compassion must speak louder than judgment. Bildad and Zophar thought they were defending God, but what they were really doing was distorting his face. A God without mercy is not the God of the Bible. The debate seemed like an endless circle. Job crying out his innocence, and his three friends responding with ever harsher accusations. The silence hung heavy until an unexpected voice broke the scene. It was Elihu, the young man who had listened without speaking. He had waited his turn out of respect, but now his spirit burned within him. "I am young, and you are elders," he said. "That is why I kept silent, thinking that the multitude of years would bring wisdom. But there is a spirit in man, and the breath of the Almighty gives him understanding. That is why I speak now." His voice was different. He did not repeat cliches, nor did he use easy accusations. He defended the justice and glory of God. "Job, you speak with anger. You focus on proving your innocence and ask what benefit there is in serving God. But who are you to measure the Most High? Does the Creator owe an account to the clay He formed? God does not act with injustice. Even if He is silent, even if He allows pain, His justice is perfect." Then he turned to Job's friends. "And you, who accused him without evidence, have spoken in vain. Your words are hollow, your arguments narrow. You have tried to defend God, but you have portrayed Him as a cruel and merciless judge. The Most High does not need clumsy lawyers." Elihu brought a different perspective. Suffering as discipline. Pain is not always punishment. Sometimes it is the voice of God warning, correcting, rescuing man from pride and turning him away from the path of death. Brokenness can be a school of humility, a sign of the love of a father who disciplines to save. His speech grew in strength until it became a hymn to divine sovereignty. Look at the storms that shake the heavens, the rain that nourishes the earth, the lightning that tears through the clouds. No one can stop His work. We do not understand His plan, but we know this. God is great, God is just, God is wise. His dealings with mankind cannot be reduced to human formulas. In those words, there was a complete contrast. In contrast to Job's self-pity and the narrow-mindedness of his friends, Elihu presented a broader, more reverent and loftier vision. He was not trying to win the argument, but to defend the glory of the Most High. As he spoke, the sky began to darken, the wind roared, and thunder rumbled in response to his words. It was as if creation itself confirmed what he was saying. God was about to speak. The silence became unbearable. Elihu had finished speaking, and his words still echoed like thunder in the minds of Job and his friends. The wind began to rise from all four corners, and the sky, once calm, darkened with thick clouds that seemed to carry the weight of the universe. Something supernatural was about to happen. Suddenly a roar shook the earth. A whirlwind descended upon the place. It was no ordinary wind. It was a burning whirlwind, charged with majesty, as if the very voice of the cosmos had awakened. And from that whirlwind, the Lord spoke. Who is this that darkens counsel with words without knowledge? Gird up your loins like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Job fell prostrate. His lips trembled. His heart pounded like a runaway drum. The Most High confronted him not with anger, but with questions that laid bare his smallness. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me, if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements, or who stretched the line upon it? On what are its foundations set? Or who laid its cornerstone, while the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Each word was like a lightning bolt illuminating the darkness of the human mind. Job had wanted answers, but what he received was a display of God's infinite greatness. The Lord led him to journey through all of creation with questions that shattered all pride. Have you commanded the morning since your days began? Have you entered the storehouses of the snow, or have you seen the treasures of the hail? Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades, or loosen the cords of Orion? The entire universe was revealed as a living testimony to divine wisdom. From the constellations to the depths of the sea, everything was under the voice of the Creator. Then Jehovah drew even closer to everyday life. Who provides food for the raven when its young cry out to God? Will you hunt the prey for the lioness, or satisfy the hunger of the young lions? Is it by your wisdom that the hawk soars, or that the eagle rises and builds its nest on high? The words pierced Job. What he had seen as mere nature was now revealed to him as an orchestra conducted by the Most High. The whirlwind roared, and Jehovah continued. Can the one who contends with the Almighty argue with him? The one who argues with God, let him answer this. Job could take no more. His broken voice was barely audible. Behold, I am vile. What shall I answer you? I put my hand over my mouth. Once I spoke, but I will not answer. Even twice, but I will speak no more. But Jehovah was not finished. The second voice from the whirlwind was even more imposing. Gird up your loins like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Will you also discredit my judgment? Will you condemn me so that you may justify yourself? The Most High not only displayed his greatness in creation, but also revealed something deeper. No man has the right to question divine justice in order to justify himself. Then Jehovah presented majestic creatures to him as symbols of his power. Behold now Behemoth, which I made as I made you. He eats grass like an ox. His strength is in his loins, and his power in the muscles of his belly. His bones are like tubes of bronze, his limbs like bars of iron. Will you catch Leviathan with a hook? Will you put a rope through his tongue? Who dares to uncover his face, or open the doors of his mouth with his terrifying rows of teeth? Faced with such descriptions, Job understood what no human words could explain. God's justice is bound to his power, and his power to his infinite wisdom. The wind died down, but the echo of the divine voice remained engraved in the stones, in hearts, and in history. The debate was over. The Most High himself had spoken. Job had filled his days with questions, seeking to understand why he suffered despite being righteous, longing for an explanation that would ease his anguish. But when God appeared to him in the whirlwind, he did not give him a human answer, but a divine revelation. He showed him the immensity of the universe, the power of the sea, the order of the stars, and the greatness of creation. With this, God was telling him, Job, your pain is real, but your vision is small. You cannot grasp the mysteries of my purpose, for I am the one who upholds all that exists. Thus we learn that God did not reveal himself to humiliate Job, but to open his eyes. True faith does not depend on understanding every detail of our suffering, but on recognizing that there is a God much greater than our questions, and that by trusting in him, even without understanding everything, we find true peace. The whirlwind had ceased, but the voice of God continued to resonate in Job's heart like an eternal echo. For the first time, the man who had raised his complaint with such passion understood what it truly meant to come face to face with the Most High. Job fell to the ground, his face in the dust, and confessed with tears, "I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes see you. Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes." That declaration was the summit of his entire journey. It was not about winning a debate, nor about proving his innocence. It was about surrendering the heart before the greatness of God. Job understood that his suffering was not a sign of abandonment, but the path that led him to see the Creator more clearly. Meanwhile, divine attention turned to the three friends who had unjustly accused him. The Lord said to them firmly, "You have not spoken what is right about me, like my servant Job. Now take 7 bulls and 7 rams, go to my servant Job, and offer a burnt offering for yourselves. And my servant Job will pray for you, for surely I will listen to him." The contrast was absolute. Those who had accused Job of being guilty now depended on his intercession to find mercy. And Job, far from holding a grudge, prayed for them. That prayer marked the beginning of his restoration. Then, like a sunrise after the darkest night, Jehovah blessed Job again. He gave him back twice as much as he had lost. His flocks multiplied. His wealth increased greatly. His friends and relatives returned, bringing gifts and comfort. His days were filled with honor and abundance. But the most touching blessing was the restoration of his family. Job and his wife, who had gone through the darkness of loss together, were given new children. Jehovah gave them 7 sons and 3 daughters, like a new dawn after the darkest night. Now he knew that true prosperity was not found in possessions, but in fellowship with the living God. He lived 140 more years, seeing his children and his children's children to the 4th generation. He died old and full of days, but above all, filled with a renewed vision of God's glory. The story of Job confronts us with a powerful truth. Suffering is not always a punishment, but sometimes a stage where God reveals his greatness. Job did not understand why he lost everything, but he learned that true faith does not depend on abundance or on pain. Rather, it depends on trusting that God is still in control. His trial teaches us that even in the deepest darkness, hope does not die, because there is an eternal purpose behind every tear. If this story touched your heart, subscribe so you don't miss more Bible stories narrated with this passion. Give it a like if it moved you. Leave your comment with your thoughts and share it so that more people can receive this message. This way, together we spread the word and keep alive the hope that transformed Job's life and can also transform yours.